Today on Passion for Food, we make a spicy but sweet South African classic, Bobotie. Now, I know there are a bunch of ways to pronounce this. I've always called it Bobotie, but I hear a lot of people calling it Bobotie or even Bobotie. But ultimately, whatever you want to call it, this dish is a great fusion of sweet, savory, and spicy. This dish is a national favorite in South Africa, and one thing I've noticed is there's just as many different ways to make it as there are different ways to say it. So this is just going to be my own personal take on it. I like to do my Bobotie one-pot style, starting with one very large onion, or 2 medium onions. We'll just chop that right into our pot, along with 3 or 4 cloves of crushed garlic. Now it's time to get a little spicy with 1 tablespoon of your favorite curry powder, along with 1 teaspoon of turmeric, along with 2 teaspoons of salt and fresh cracked black pepper to taste. But wait, there's more. We're also going to add 1/4 cup of raisins, along with 1/4 cup of slivered almonds. And just to show the food gods who's boss, we're also going to be adding 2 tablespoons of this Mrs. Ball's peach apricot chutney. Now this stuff is only made in South Africa, but you can get it on Amazon. But I think if you just wanted to use a couple of tablespoons of peach or apricot jam, that would be acceptable. Mostly. Sort of. And finally, here we have about 1.5 pounds of 80/20 ground beef. You may have noticed I didn't add any oil to the pot. Well, that's why, because I'm planning on using the rendered fat from this wonderful beef. While we get that cooking over high heat, let's talk for just a moment about Bobotie. While researching all the various recipes, I noticed a near infinite variety of different flavor combinations, but I would group them into 2 main camps. The loose mincemeat variety that I'm making here today, and the meatloaf variety. I say that mostly to explain why I'm not adding the milk-soaked bread that seems common in most Bobotie recipes. Really, that's something you want to do if you're making the meatloaf variety. Interestingly, the first recipe for Bobotie appeared in a Dutch cookbook in 1609. Afterwards, it was taken to South Africa and adopted by the Cape Malay community. And if we go back even further, Bobotie appears to be a variant of patinum ex lache, a dish documented by the ancient Roman writer Apicius, which consisted of layers of cooked meat, pine nuts, and seasonings that was then topped with an egg custard. Anyway, once we have that all cooked together, we want to cut off the heat and go ahead and give this a taste for seasoning. It's very important that we balance out the saltiness and sweetness of this dish, and mine needed just a touch of extra salt here. Give that a quick mix, and then there's one final addition to our Bobotie, and that is a quick egg custard, consisting simply of 1 large egg, 1 cup of milk, and a pinch of salt. We just want to whisk that until completely smooth, and then we're just going to pour this straight over the top. Now, because I'm doing the loose mince version, it's actually going to diffuse down into the meat and fruit, but that's fine. And finally, just to top things off, we're going to go in with a couple of bay leaves. Now, you can use lemon or orange leaves here, but I don't have any of those. So into a preheated 350-degree oven we go. And while that cooks for about 25 minutes, let's go ahead and make the perfect yellow turmeric rice. All we need is 1 cup of rice along with 2 cups of water, about a teaspoon of salt, and a teaspoon of turmeric powder. It's not going to seem like a lot of turmeric, but believe me, that's plenty. That color is going to diffuse into our rice as it cooks beautifully. Once it just starts to simmer, we want to slap a lid on, cut the heat down to low, and just cook that for about 17 minutes. Assuming I got that timing right, our Bobotie should be coming out of the oven around the same time our rice is ready. Speaking of rice, I was feeling a little yellow about making too many colorful rice puns. I mean, really, what do we gain from that? Anyway, rice jokes aside, let's go ahead and grab a generous portion of this wonderfully spicy but sweet South African classic, Bobotie. This is a really unique dish, and if you've never had this before, I highly recommend you do yourself a favor and give this a try. And don't leave anything out. Just trust me, I almost left out the raisins because I always hate it when I find raisins in my curry, but it just works perfectly in this. And if you like a little extra sweetness, feel free to garnish with a little extra chutney and sliced banana. So what foods are you passionate about? Is there something you would like to see me prepare? Let me know in the comments below. I really hope you've enjoyed today's episode. If you have, give me a thumbs up below and don't forget to subscribe and hit that little bell so you don't miss our future recipes. And check out one of our other great videos playing on the screen now. This has been Graham with Passion for Food.